The science is clear. There is a profound connection between the state of our heart and the health of our body. Just the simple act of forgiveness can lower your risk of heart attack, improve your cholesterol and sleep, and reduce pain levels and blood pressure. My guest today knows all about this. Forgiveness literally saved her life. Angelina Taylor, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me today.
So tell me about where this journey with forgiveness came. You were in the hospital. You were in a very serious situation.
I was. So the doctors were claiming death over me, and I was lying there in pain all of the time or asleep. And I woke up one time to my children having come to visit me, to my son, who was 6 or 7 at the time, cutting a piece of my hair. And I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "I'm taking this to put it under my pillow so that you'll always be with me, Mom."
And you were a single mom at this time.
I was.
Your kids had no one else on earth. So how devastating was that moment?
Well, I had made a promise when I had children that I was going to be this amazing mom. Like, everything that went wrong when I was young wasn't going to happen to my kids. And so it broke my heart. It broke my heart in a way that I don't like to think about how heartbroken I was that day. And I realized that as much as I was suffering, my kids were suffering, and they were stuck in a limbo that they had a mom. There I was. They could see me, but they didn't have a mom. I wasn't able to take care of them. I wasn't able to really love on them. And I just was like, okay, enough. If I kind of knew who God was, but I didn't know. Like, I knew that there was a God, but I didn't know who he was. And so I made a decision. When my kids left, I said, okay, God, if you're real, let's do this. Let's die or let's live. Whatever, but it isn't about me anymore, it's about my kids. They'll get over if their mom dies, they'll grieve, they'll move on. But this state, this limbo, isn't fair for them. They're stuck here. And as clear as your voice is today, God said, forgive. I want you to forgive every person who has hurt you.
Wow.
And then I will heal you. And it wasn't easy, but he was full of grace and mercy. And he just kept on loving me, and I didn't even know who he was, right? He was just showing me his love. And as I forgave, he started to heal me.
Wow. Doctors said you were going to die.
I was going to die.
There was no hope.
There was no hope. There was nothing left. They had nothing. There was no more treatment. They had flown in doctors from other countries to see me and consult to what to do, and they had no answers. They were, our prognosis is that you're going to die. And God proved them wrong. God proved them wrong. He said, okay, watch. And my life has been blessed since then. So, at one point, I was in a wheelchair and told I wouldn't walk again. And I had my whole house modified for my wheelchair.
Wow. So you had like a lot of digestive issues. Like, is there a name for?
So they don't have a name. I always say, oh, maybe they will call it Angelina disease.
So you had something really unique.
I did. So what they did tell me was that they labeled conditions or symptoms. So basically my pelvic floor completely disintegrated. And your pelvic floor is what holds the inside. And so my insides literally fell outside.
Oh my goodness.
And of course, when they do that, they're stretching, so they're breaking and they're bleeding. So there was blood transfusions and the motility or movement of food digestion and breakdown isn't going to happen when those muscles are stretched too far.
Yeah.
So I was literally starving to death.
Wow.
Because I couldn't eat and couldn't get any nutrition.
And all of this changed when you started forgiving.
It did. It did. It was a slow process. It wasn't like
you forgave somebody and then the next day you were running the marathon.
No. It was slow, but my forgiveness was slow because there was a part of me that resentments and that unforgiveness and bitterness and I'm going to say hate had propelled me in life.
It was like an energy.
It was an
energy. It might have
energy.
been a negative energy, but it was still an energy.
Right.
Wow.
And so forgiving was literally, like at that point, when that happened, I felt already stripped of everything that made me feel okay. Right? And so at that point, when forgiving truly left me open and vulnerable, like now I had all these big holes that bitterness and resentment were filling, right? They were like propelling me to go on. And so it wasn't just about emptying out the bitterness and forgiveness. It was really about filling it with the love of the Lord.
Okay, I want to talk more about this because a lot of the pain of what you had to forgive came from your childhood. We're going to unpack that and how going beyond just forgiving to find that peace and that healing for your heart. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. We are back with Angelina Taylor, who came back from the brink of death when she prayed to a God she wasn't even sure existed. And of course, you heard a voice out loud tell you to forgive. You worked through that painful journey of forgiveness.
Yes.
We left off, you were talking about the fact that you had to empty yourself of all that bitterness, but it left a hole that had to be filled with something. So how did you, you didn't, even though God spoke to you and you started this journey, you didn't even know who he was. So what happens next?
Well, so, in the hospitals, they come around and they say, would you like prayer or would you like a Bible? And I was like, yep, okay. Probably for the first time, I was like, okay, I'm going to get to know. I needed to fill that and I needed to empty me. I needed to empty me of everything. I knew that. Somehow I knew that. And there was a lot to empty. And as I emptied, I filled it with God's Word. And he was so good to me because, he brought me, I didn't know where to start in the Bible, and I opened up the beginning and it wasn't a good place for me to start.
Yeah, no, we never recommend people start at the beginning.
And so I would just say, okay, show me what you want to see today, Lord. And where the Bible would fall, I would read. And he started to replace the you're not worthy, you're unlovable.
Yeah, this was huge because you had that sense from some painful things in your childhood that you had no value. And then you worked hard and you excelled in everything to prove I do have value. And then when you got sick, all of that went away.
Yeah.
So how are you finding your value in the midst of this moment in your life?
God's Word. He said, see, I was adopted, right? And the adoption didn't work well, but that word to me meant I wasn't wanted and I wasn't loved by my birth family. But his word said I was adopted by him, the King of Kings. That he knew me when I was being formed in the womb. He had already loved me then. That I was precious and the apple of his eye. I felt like the pit of everybody's eye inside. But I made sure I had a resume to hold on the outside that said, I have this check mark and I have this check mark, so I'm all good, I'm worthy. But inside, I never, ever felt that way.
I think that's very common. I don't think that's unusual at all. So how does it feel inside now?
I have fire. I have a passion for the Lord. I am confident no matter where I am or what is going on in my circumstances in all suffering, because, you know, I was healed, but I still have issues. I have conditions. They can't, you know, doctors still proclaim death over me. My Jesus is my great physician, and he doesn't. And he says, I have a purpose and a plan for your life. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I stand on that, and I proclaim his word wherever I can.
And the fact that you're even sitting here today, you are a walking miracle.
Yeah, yeah.
But you don't know how many days you have.
No, I don't. But I don't dwell on that. See, my focus is on Jesus. And he gives me more than I need. You know, there used to be a time when I first came to the Lord and I started to tell my story, I used to say, and Jesus was all I had, as if I wanted like this, like, pat on my back. Oh, you poor girl, all you had was Jesus. But stop, wait a second. All I had was Jesus. Like,
he's everything.
He's everything. He's King of Kings. He's like the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end. There is nothing bigger, better. It's not like, poor me, all I had left was Jesus. It's like, wow, what a victory she has, because she has Jesus. And I just want to share him with everybody, because people are hurt.
Yeah.
People are hurt.
And he changed your life.
He did. And I'm special in his eye, but I'm not any more special than anybody else.
Listening to this interview right now, everybody listening to this interview, thank you so much for coming to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
And I just want to say, you know, that feeling, that fear that almost everybody has inside of them, that if you really knew me, if you really knew who I was, you would not love me. And you would find out that I'm not worthy of love. I'll tell you what, that is a lie that lives in most of our hearts. And it is a lie, because God already loves you. You may not acknowledge him, you may not care about him, but he sees you and he loves you and he passionately pursues you. You may not see it, but God is after your heart today because he loves you and he knows what's best for you. I want to challenge you to give him a chance. You know, just like Angelina crying out to God, if you're real, she doesn't know, right? But show yourself to me, help me. And that's all you have to do. If you're real, help me and see what he will do. Open that door and I guarantee you, your life is going to be different. If you want someone to pray with you about whatever you're going through today, give us a call. That number is 1-866-273-4444. You will find the nicest person on the other end of that line, willing to pray with you about whatever is on your heart today. We'll be right back.
Thank you for checking out 100 Huntley Street. If you were inspired by the story you heard today, subscribe to our page and check out the thousands of other life-changing stories we've shared.